All right, so in 1848, as Zachary Taylor is being elected, and the whole debate, the whole question is, again, whether slavery is going to be allowed in the West or not. The whole thing is exacerbated because in California in 1848, you have the discovery of gold. And then in 1849, a whole bunch of people are flooding into California. And a lot of them are young men who are looking, a lot of them are young men who are looking to make a quick buck and who are, getting into fights with each other over gold and different prospecting mines and so on and so forth. And there's not really enough law and order to keep order out in California. So there's a need to resolve the situation in California, to establish some kind of territorial government or state government quickly so that they can stabilize the region, okay? You've also got a lot of people moving into the other territories gained from Mexico. So, of course, we talked about the mass migration of the Mormon people into the Great Salt Lake area, which is Utah, but which at the time was part of the New Mexico territory. And their population is growing quickly. They tend to do well, right, and be industrious. And there's also a need to kind of resolve, okay, what's going to be the territorial government out in the New Mexico territory, okay? And Zachary Taylor has come into office in 1849, taken the oath of office, and then reveals that he intends to admit both New Mexico and California immediately as free states. That is, there will be no slavery allowed in those territories. And this is a complete shock to the Southern Whigs who had voted for him, okay? There is outrage, as you can imagine, within the South, but Taylor does not back down. He sends delegates out to California and New Mexico to negotiate the terms of statehood as quickly as possible. California moves very quickly, approves a constitution to become a free state, all right? New Mexico takes a little bit longer simply because it's such a big territory, all right? With a very diverse population. Of course, you have English-speaking Mormon people in the north around the Great Salt Lake, and you have mostly Spanish-speaking peoples down in the south of New Mexico. So it just takes a little bit longer to kind of build a coalition around this, or build a consensus around this. Now, so Taylor's moving forward. He's getting the New Mexico and the California. He's pushing forward the plan for statehood to make both of these places free states. The problem, of course, is going to be Congress is going to slow this down, all right? Now, within the House of Representatives, you have a slight majority, I believe it is, of Democrats, but a pretty even split between Whigs and Democrats. And then you have 12 free soil representatives who are going to kind of really shake things up, okay? So what happens essentially is that you have the people who are free soilers who are not willing to compromise on the expansion of slavery into the West, all right, because it's a moral evil. They're not going to allow it to go out there. You have the Democrats in the South now, or just Southerners in general now, who feel, those who are Democrats and those who are Whigs who felt betrayed by Taylor, who are going to say they're not going to compromise. They're going to have to protect their interests because they're now perceiving the federal government as promoting the interests of the free states over theirs, and they're not going to be willing to compromise, okay? And so compromise is going to be almost impossible. They can't even decide on a Speaker of the House. The Whigs can't come together to support one candidate. The Democrats are broken up over supporting their own candidate for Speaker of the House. There's complete deadlock in Congress over this issue of slavery and its expansion. And there's this like virulent debates on the floor of the House of Representatives. Fist fights are breaking out. People are challenging each other to duels. I mean, it's pretty serious stuff. And then as the deadlock is going on, the Southern delegates say, look, they're just going to go and have their own little convention. They're threatening to secede unless Taylor backs down, right, on, pushing 2 new free states into the Union, right? And then in response to the Southerners threatening to secede, right, in response to the Southerners threatening to secede, Taylor says that he's going to send federal troops down into the South to execute traitors, suppress rebellion. And remember, he's a Southerner, right? And he says, look, the idea of northern aggression is ridiculous. It's the Southerners who are acting in a revolutionary, rebellious manner. And he's threatening to use federal troops to enforce the law down there, okay? And the Southerners then say, okay, well, we're going to go forward with our own convention, possibly to declare secession, and they schedule that for the summer of 1850, okay? So everything is deadlocked. Chaos is kind of descended, there's no government's not functional, right? Because this moral issue of slavery is tearing the nation apart, okay? And this is what happens with moral issues. They tear the nation apart because ultimately you can't compromise on evil, right? You can't go along with evil, okay? So this issue had been delayed by the Founding Fathers is now almost tearing up the nation in civil war in 1850. And then we're going to have, in the next bit of lecture, the compromise that doesn't resolve the conflict, but that delays the conflict for another 10 years, okay? And that's going to be the Compromise of 1850, all right?